Sega's breaking out the big guns for the 8-bit wars. Too bad they don't quite fit in the vessel that's carrying them. This is Sega Masters. It's our 20th episode, and we certainly have a big title lined up for this special occasion as Sega once again dips into its stable of arcade titles to compete against Nintendo's growing licensees and franchises. This time around we have a home version of one of their biggest hits of the 1980s, Space Harrier, the second of the Super Scalar machines to see a home conversion after Hang-On was the first. Designed by Sega legend Yu Suzuki, the original Space Harrier coin-op was a 3D rail shooter, one of the first of its kind. Those who dropped in the quarters were wowed by the game's fast-paced action as well as its technically impressive presentation. The wild, trippy environments with smooth sprite scaling, rocking soundtrack, and even a few digitalized voice clips helped Space Harrier become one of Sega's biggest coin-op hits. Due to the game's popularity in the arcades, a console port wasn't too much of a surprise. This cart was even used to kick off Sega's line of 2 Mega cartridges, promising twice the action, twice the graphics, and all that.
Get ready.
But even with the extra cart memory, you might think the console's limitations may prevent the home version from truly matching the fast-paced action and visuals of the coin-op. And you'd be correct. But it still gives it the old college try. You play as the jetpack-wearing Harrier, who's out to defend the Land of Dragons by beating back an invading army through 18 otherworldly environments. As you zoom across each checkered landscape, you're constantly under siege from strange enemy creatures you must blast with your cannon while dodging their projectiles. You also have to avoid the ground-based obstacles in your path, such as trees, metal poles, and stone pillars, and smacking into anything will instantly cost you a life. While the game does resemble the coin-op with the core gameplay mostly intact, you'll quickly see more than a few concessions were made to squeeze it into a 2 Mega cart, especially with the graphics. Everything now moves at a much slower pace with choppy scaling for the incoming enemies and obstacles, making them look like they're being stamped on the screen frame by frame. The various sprites also clash with each other, resulting in jagged edges, which gives the game a flat 2D look. Plus, is that a smiley face on the back of your gun? At the end of each stage, you must duel with a boss monster before you can proceed to the next zone. Those who remember how cool the bosses looked in the coin-op will be disappointed here, as the graphical shortcomings are especially prevalent during these sequences. The Guardians and their projectiles can often look like jumbled messes, which can also make these battles tougher than they should be since it's hard to know which way to avoid their fireballs. In any case, once you pelt the boss with enough shots, it explodes, and you move seamlessly into the next zone for more shooting action. I'm guessing this second zone is supposed to be a desert-like level with all the browns and yellows and stone-like enemies. The game tries to convey different environments for each level based on the colors and sprites used, but isn't really convincing since the landscape seems so desolate. The backgrounds are boring as well, with a plain-colored sky and nothing at the horizon. There's no denying that this port is bogged down by the rather ugly graphics and slower pace of the action, and fans of the original probably won't approve of this version. At the same time, if you're able to look past those compromises, you might still find some enjoyable shoot-'em-up action. The D-pad is a step down from the coin-op's analog controls, but nonetheless it does a solid job of moving the Harrier around, even with the noticeable choppiness. This card also does a surprisingly great job mimicking the background tunes from the coin-op, including the iconic theme song and other stage melodies. A few of the voice clips even made it into the cartridge as well. Your 3 lives can seem to go quickly due to the slightly high difficulty, but Sega threw in a hidden continue feature to keep you going. Just hold down left on the D-pad and push button 1 when game over appears, and you'll resume right where you left off with a fresh supply of lives. Though you can only continue 3 times, it's not impossible to get very far. Sega also managed to include the fun bonus stages from the arcade. Here you get to ride the Harrier's dragon friend Uriah and smash up trees and bushes for points and maybe even extra lives. In addition, unlike the arcade version, you do have a final boss confrontation at the end of the game, as well as an actual conclusion. While the coin-op simply says "The End" after the last level and calls it good. Overall, the home version of Space Harrier will go down as a valiant attempt by Sega that still can't really do the original justice. And that problem will crop up repeatedly as Sega looks to bring more of their arcade hits to their consoles, especially the Super Scalers. But the fact that this port mimics the original in the slightest is still an impressive feat, and as long as you're not expecting too much, it may be worth a playthrough or two. Otherwise, though, seeking a real Space Harrier experience on a home console, might want to stick with the excellent ports on the 32X and Saturn.